Blog Talk Radio.
Gusty renegade context of white supremacy. Just taking some time to see if Mr. Fuller might be available to share views on racism, white supremacy. Not sure if he will be, but we will give it a try. Thank you all for supporting the program. If it has been constructive, maybe it has not. If you feel the program has been constructive, try and share it with other folks. I suspect it could be just based on how white people have responded, but I could be incorrect. I'm going to see if Mr. Fuller is available, and if he is, we'll see if he'll share a little bit of his time and share some views with us. If not, no big deal. Let us see.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
According to the code, she said that is a term that shouldn't be used, correct?
Right, yes.
Now, the code requires me to ask a question. See, everything goes into the question mode. So when I tell somebody they shouldn't do something, that immediately means, according to counter-racist logic, that they know the term I should use. Now, what did she say to that? Or did she say?
She said that she felt person of color is a more accurate term because person of color, number one, it does not dehumanize the non-white people. Since you're saying person of color, that clarifies that non-white people are indeed humans and should be treated as such. And she also felt that non-white is self-negating. She said that she feels that saying you are non-white, it is classifying yourself in comparison to white people and negating because you are not white.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's her opinion, and she's entitled to it. And she gave her suggestion, which I don't agree with. So she can use the one that she wants to use. Mm-hmm. I'll use the one that I say should be used, and I base the logic that I have on I'm identifying myself, non-white, as for what I am. It's not a negation. It's an accurate observation. I am a prisoner, and I want to keep reminding myself of that, because when I forget that, then I forget what I'm supposed to be doing in the first place. Yes, it is a comparison to white, because they set that up. White, non-white. If you're not white, it ain't much to you except you're supposed to be mistreated. I understand that. That is the situation that I'm in. I don't want to forget that. I don't want the warden of the prison to ever tell me that I'm not a prisoner. Because that's what that's getting away from. That's like the warden coming down to the cell and say, you know, we used to call you fellas prisoners. From now on, we're going to call you associates. Oh, yeah, that'll make me feel better. But it doesn't do nothing for my status. I know exactly what that means. And that's how I analyze it. Now, people who don't want to use non-white, they don't have to. I stick with it. White, non-white, and white supremacists. These are the categories of people on the planet. And I'm not moving out of that for that reason. I carefully thought of that term. It's not a term that I made up, but it's a term that fits. If I'm a slave, call me a slave. Don't tell me that I'm a free person and I'm still a slave. Yeah, that really lulls me to sleep. You're not really a slave, you know. You're a co-worker. You know, you're a member of the firm, you know. This is the Bodie plantation, you know. And you are one of our business associates. Now, get that plow moving. Now, boy, I'm really working out now. I mean, boy, the sweat is flying, whatnot, and I'm behind that mule and I'm grinning. I'm a business associate at the Bodie plantation. Man, I feel great. Get up, mule.
So you, as long as the system of white supremacy exists, you don't see
word
anything.
Masters. See what I mean?
Now,
I've been in the presence not of Miss Jane Elliott, but Miss Farrell. She's another one, and Tim Wise and all that. I mean, they're with that white privilege group. Mm-hmm. I'm greatly suspicious of their motives, all of them, and I say so.
Why?
Because I don't really know what they're doing, why they're doing it. I mean, all people who are classified as white are racist suspects if they are able to be racist. That's set in cement. That doesn't change for anybody. I don't care what their efforts are. You're a racist suspect if you're able to be a racist. Why? I can't tell who a racist is. They don't have, as far as I know, there's no official listing of who a racist is and who a racist isn't. So therefore, I'm duty-bound to suspect any white person as being a racist who is able to be one. That is the codified criteria. That does not change as long as racism exists. That's what I mean by fixed codifications. You've got to have fixed stuff. That's what codification is. It's fixed. You lock it in. You lock it into the computer and it can't come out. And it's no point in having a code if it's not locked in. And you just don't lock it in just to be doing it, just to be firm and obstinate. You make a survey and you consider all of your options. And this is how something becomes codified. And you, after you go through everything, sort through everything, discuss everything, study everything, then you say, okay, this goes into the counter-racist computer. And then it becomes officially codified. Why? Because it's the only logical way to go about doing it. That's why. You don't have no other options. If you got options, you put the options in there. That's not an option. Why? Based on logic. Based on the logic of what? You can't tell who's a racist and who isn't. You can't really testify under oath that a person is not a racist. A person may do that, but that's a gamble. Because non-white people have been fooled too many times by racists who came bearing gifts. and declaring that they are not racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying. What reason do I have to believe you? Because I said so, and I got plenty of other people. Plenty of other people like whom? Well, there's a lot of black people who say that I'm not racist. Well, suppose you have fooled them. Oh, come on. I mean, you got to believe something. Yeah, I believe you could be a racist. That's what I believe. Because racism still exists. But nobody can ever find one. White people and black people say racism still exists. It's still a major problem. Everybody agrees on that. But you say, well, who are these racists? Where do they live? And all like that. Oh, they're out there somewhere. Well, does anybody have an idea who they are by name? Everybody goes silent. Can you find a few? Yeah, I think it's one or two up there in Utah somewhere. You know, that's what people do. I mean, professors do this. Everybody, black professors. And then you say, hey, I got to conclude this is not very scientific at all. The way everybody's responding, this is not logical. Now we're claiming that racism is plaguing the entire world. I don't care whether you're in Morocco, I don't care where you are. But nobody, you know, at least you have an idea of where bin Laden might be. But nobody can find a racist no place. Yeah, I'm in the state of Georgia. I'm in the state of Massachusetts. I'm in California. Now, where are the racists here? I don't know. But they're around. Around where? Oh, you know, it's here. It's out there, you know. Racism is alive and well. Black people and white people will say that in one voice. But you say, well, do you have any idea where any of them? I think some of them was over in another county, you know. I saw some graffiti about 2 years ago over there on the basketball court. I think a racist put it there. Yet you're talking about the greatest, most awesome force on earth, racism. But nobody can find anybody by name. Oh, Adolf Hitler was a racist, definitely. You know, he's been dead a half century. Yeah, well, there's still a few of them around. Around where? Oh, here and there, you know. I mean, I ran into racism on my job. Well, who were the racists on your job? Well, we had some. I mean, and that just goes on and on and on and on. So, what do you do about it? Codification is not about hand-wringing. Codification is about coming up with absolute, cut-to-the-chase answers and doing it right now. Not next week, not some other time. So it's all about doing and saying. So what you say about that is every white person who is able to be a racist should be on the racist suspect list until we find out who the racists really are, like any investigative procedure would be. You walk into a room, I mean, they say, how many people have been in this room this morning? Well, at least 36 people have been in this room. In fact, all of the people that work here have been in this room this morning. Well, all of the people who work here are now on the suspect list because $800,000 is gone from this room. So you say, how many people work here? Well, we got about 1,200 people that work here. And all of them have come through this room this morning. The $800,000 is missing, and it was missing as of this morning. Not last week, not last night. $800,000 was here this morning and is missing. We got 1,200 people Nobody leaves here until we interview 1,200 people. End of story. And try to find out the person or persons that took that $800,000. They said, well, you're suspecting everybody? How else are we going to go about doing it? Are we going to say we're going to, let 400 people go? And then keep the rest of them? That's not a correct procedure. No, everybody's suspect. Well, were you in the room? Yes. But see, the thing about it would be, when you say it's suspicion of white supremacy, first of all, you got to have a qualification. Now, in that room thing, the qualification was to have been in that room. Now, when you start talking about racism, the qualification is you have to be white in order to be eligible to be a white supremacist. Can't be black and be a white supremacist. Doesn't work. Okay? So that's the way that works. So anybody who is white, who is able to be a racist, is on the suspect list. That's why I say they're racist suspects. If a white person asks me, any white person, say, well, do you think that I'm, do you suspect that I'm a racist? I say, I'm duty bound to suspect that. Sir? That's a duty. That's not an option. If we're talking about counter-racism, meaning eliminating racism. That goes with the territory. Now, if you're not a racist, you shouldn't be worried. Just like, if I'm the guy who wasn't in the room, and they say, Fuller, you work here, but were you in that room this morning? No. I'm not eligible, to be one of the people that took the money because I wasn't in the room. I was off that day. Say, well, you wouldn't, we could suspect you, but if you wasn't in the room, everybody knows you couldn't have been in the room. You wasn't even in the building. You were out of the state. And the money was taken this morning between 8 and 10. And you were somewhere else on an airplane or something. So you couldn't have been the person. We know that. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's not logical to keep you on the suspect list or even have you on it once that's found out. So you're exempt by being, you're not able. You couldn't been able. You wasn't able to take the money. The manifest here at the airport says that you were in the air, had been in the air since 6 o'clock that morning. And didn't get off the plane until 11 in another city. It was a nonstop flight. So you couldn't have been here at the factory and been down there in that room where the money was taken, because you can't be two places at once. So that eliminates you as a suspect. That's the way that works. In other words, I wasn't able to do it. Might even wanted to do it, but I wasn't able to do it. It's the same way with being a racist suspect. See, the white guy in the chair whose mind is completely gone. He doesn't even know what his name is. He's got Alzheimer's. He used to be the head of the Ku Klux Klan. I cannot hold him as guilty of being a racist on that day when he's in that wheelchair. They say, this guy used to be, he used to be the worst racist, in this state. Man, nigger this and nigger that all over the place. Organized big rallies. I say, but is he able to practice racism now? Man, this guy ain't able to go to the bathroom. He don't know nothing. He can't hold his head, or he don't know a spoon from a fork. All he does is fall out of that chair all day, and we have to pick him up. He's not able to be a racist. See what I mean? No, I cannot charge him with racism. He's not able. He's obviously not able. Now, we got some babies down the hall just been born. They white. Got 6 of them, Are they on the racist suspect list? Absolutely not. they're not able to be racist. They can't hold their heads up either. See, that's the first criteria. You got to be white, and you got to be able to be a racist. That's the only way you can get on the racist suspect list. You say, so are you calling me a racist? No, I'm calling you a racist suspect. Suspected by whom? By me. Well, why are you? Because I'm a victim of racism. I'm entitled to suspect anybody I want to suspect. If I'm a victim of a robbery, something was taken from me, I can suspect who I want to suspect based on logic. I was robbed by two guys in a green car. Now, I'm looking, about 16 people, two apiece, who were in a green car. Now, I don't know which ones it was, but it was two guys in a green car. They're on the suspect list.
You said you were very suspicious of the white people who participate in the white privilege, anti-racism, Tim Wise, Farrell Winfrey, Jane Elliott.
But no more than I am of any other white person I pass on the street.
Oh, okay.
See, all racist suspects are equal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't suspect one no more than you do the other.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because of the deceptive clause. See, the most vicious racists are great deceivers. The one who was out there with the swastikas on the side of his car and the rebel flags flying and all like that, and the little speaker set up there on a box on the street corner, and he's saying nigger this and nigger that. He's easier to handle. It's the guy that's walking past is not saying nothing, carrying a briefcase and looking over there like he's wondering what's going on, and he keeps right on walking on his way to the office and saying good morning, real pleasant and all like that. Some of the deadliest racists in the world are in that category.
Do you think that sounds a little closer to what
the guy with Obama's picture in his lapel. Some of the deadliest racists in the world are in that category. It's like a spy. That's where a spy operates. See, the principle of a covert racist is the same thing as a spy. They call them moles in what you call the intelligence community.
Right.
Yeah, man, they're insidious. They're deadly. Smile and a handshake. Charter member of the NAACP. Pays his dues on time.
Do you feel like, because and Jane Elliott, by the way, she admitted to being a racist when I spoke with her. She admitted.
Yeah. Which really, makes me wary. I've been in the presence of Tim Wise on a number of occasions, who is very articulate. He speaks. He knows how to talk about racism better than millions of black people could ever do it.
Really?
Okay. Oh, you ever hear Tim Wise talk, you'll know it. But I have been in his presence. I've stood next to him and all like that. I've never even said one word to Tim Wise because I don't have no reason to.
Why don't you have anything to say to him if he's that informed about racism?
Because I go according to the code. The code says I won't pay attention to any white person who's talking against racism. And the reason is the code requires me if the discussion comes up, there's one criteria when it comes to white people and what they are doing about racism, doing or saying, and that criteria is racism either exists or it doesn't. In other words, you don't get paid for effort. I don't care how much effort you're putting forth. I don't care how many John Browns you come down the road with. I have no interest in that at all. Yeah, you either do, see, it's a zero thing. You either do the job or you don't. And that's another thing I learned from that black sergeant. See, I mean, he said, Fuller, don't tell me how hard you've been working. Show me the result. There's nothing unique about hard work. See, people work hard all over the world all day. See, so if you're looking for any kind of credit for hard work, you're not going to get it from me. See, when you finish the job, that's when you come in here. Otherwise, don't come in here. I didn't like it, but it made sense. You know. But now, he wasn't being unjust, because he said, now, if you have a problem down there and don't know what you're doing, let me know. Now, I'll come down there and help you out. He says, but if you know what to do, how to do it, I've showed you, I've demonstrated, and we have done it, I don't need a status report. All I need you to do is just do what you're supposed to do. You already know how to do it. I've showed you how to do it. You've been tested. I can see that you are doing it. You don't have to come around up here every 2 or 3 hours talking about how hard you're working. Just get the job done. That's all. That's the purpose for the work. Not to get a pat on the back. It's to get the job done. Now, same scenario as when you're talking to white people about race. Well, now we have Mr. So-and-so, and he has been here in the city, and he has worked along the journey of so-and-so. No. Let's cut all that out. You're taking and wasting time. Is the project finished? Well, it'll be finished by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's all we need to know. Now, let's get out of here. We can adjourn this meeting right now. Well, we don't know when the project's going to be finished. Well, let's adjourn the meeting right now. You know. See, that's the codification according to what I've written. And I tell white people this, and black people, don't come presenting me with no white person who's working hard, trying to eliminate racism. I'll know how hard you're working when I see the result. That's when I start asking questions. When somebody shakes me in the morning and say, Fuller, you can throw that book away and all that. I mean, you know, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Graham, he solved a race problem at 1:30 this morning. I say, in other words, it's all over? Yeah. I say, now, that's what I wanted to hear. But if he comes in there and shakes and wakes me up and say, Mr. Graham said that he's really working double time on it, I say, don't ever wake me up to tell me that. I have no interest in anything that Mr. Graham is doing.
Well, see, now that was the thing, because Jane Elliott admitted racist, like I said, and some whites admitted to being a racist too. But Jane Elliott, she said that she feels, using the term non-white, that it gives, that was the term she used, gives power to white people.
She can help herself. Now, that helps to solve the race problem, and it actually solves the race problem. Hooray for Miss Elliott. Mm-hmm. Until then, I have no interest in it. If that'll work for her in doing what needs to be done, she doesn't have to tell me. All she's got to do is do it. She doesn't have to convince me of nothing. See, white people don't have to come among black people talking about, like I was doing with the sergeant, how hard I've been working. these wonderful ideas I have to solve the race problem. Go tell that to the white people. Don't come to me if you're white telling me how hard you've been working. Yeah, my cousin knew John Brown. Well, whoop-de-doo. I mean, that's logical. See, that's not being mean.
Right.
That's pure logic. You're white. I mean, you know, the people who are practicing racism probably, you know, sitting right across the table from you. If you're not one yourself. Or both. I mean, you know, you can talk to them. You can tell them about what words to use to solve this problem. Coming and telling me how hard you're working on the problem, that's not doing anything. That's a feel-good trip. This is war. Either the war is over or it isn't.
I saw when I spoke with you over the weekend. You said that Senator Reid, that I hadn't really heard that much about it, but you reminded me about, you know, his comments and him getting in trouble. I saw where white people are still complaining about his comments and what he said, and I asked Jane Elliott about that. She agreed. She said exactly what you said. She said she felt everything he said was true, that if President Obama had been darker, he probably wouldn't have been elected. White people would not have supported him as much. If he didn't sound articulate, if he sounded, you know, like a stereotypical non-white person, wouldn't have voted for him. And, you know, she just felt that he spoke honestly, and she felt like that was why so many white people were upset, was because he was speaking honestly about racism. Did you think that part was true too? That what he said was true, and that's why?
Yeah, well, I just look at the statement, but then, you know, I say that my suggestion is that non-white people go about their counter-racist duties, and what they say about things, about what Mr. Reid said, I mean, they just simply just take a note of what he said and then move on and do whatever they're going to do. A lot of people are talking about, well, I mean, you know, he should step down, and, you know, I'm not going into all of that either. See, now, if I was talking to Mr. Reid, I would not ask, like the code calls for me, never ask anybody for an apology for anything, living or dead, ever. Under no circumstances you ever ask anybody to apologize for anything. That's code. Okay, so that's a done deal anyway. Now, if I ever talked to Senator Reid, I would ask him questions like, are you still a senator? You know, and if he said yes, I say, now, what does that give you power to do? See, I'm getting right to the chase. And if he said, well, it gives me power to do this and do that and do this, you know, okay, well, I have a list of things here that I'd like to see done. Will you kindly look at this list, sir? You know, and have him look at the list. I say, now, how many of the things on that list do you think that you can get done? See, codification is about list of things that need doing. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Not all this rhetoric about how somebody feels or some remark that they made. Hey, you know, man, we're trying to solve problems. That's what it's about. Now, I got 12 problems here that I can't solve. I want to know how many of these problems, of these 12, can you solve? And preferably, hopefully, you can solve all of them. Now, take a look at the list, sir, if you don't mind. And have him look at the list. And he said, well, I know I can solve 7 of them right off the bat. Okay, can you guarantee me that? Yeah, now we're talking. End of story. I don't have to discuss nothing about what you said about anything else. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
See, we got to learn to be businesslike. You know, Michael Corleone understood that. Said, Senator, are you going to get me that license for the gaming thing. That's what he wanted to know. Said, I just moved to Nevada. I'm moving, the Corleone family is moving our operations out here in Nevada. And the reason I'm talking to you is not all this howdy do and handshake and all that stuff. That goes with the politics of it, I know. I'll go through that little ritual for the sake of whatever, go out there and have dinner with the ladies, all that. But what I really want to know is, can I get the gaming license for the state of Nevada so that I can open my gambling operations here with your consent and your backing, which is what I need. That's what we're in here for. And the senator started telling him about, well, no, I don't even like you, and so therefore I ain't going to do it and all like that. He says, okay, these negotiations over. I'm not getting what hey, the cake and the cookies and the liquor and all that. I mean, that's not what this is about. It's not even about whether or not you like me. It's about, I want the gaming license. And if you don't give it to me in this meeting, I got other ways of getting it. So goodbye. See what I mean?
Yes, sir. I
don't need to talk to you no more. I'm going to talk to somebody else. So, we have to learn to be codified. I mean, staying focused. See what I mean? That's what that means. Staying focused, not be just hopping all over the place. Do the same thing the same way every time. That's what codification is. Say the same thing over and over again. And always know the reason why you're doing something. Somebody invites me to a party, I say, what for? Now I'm going to give you kind of a vulgar illustration of what I meant. Some years ago, I was down in a meeting that was supposed to be about black people, Student National Medical Association, helping the black students get through medical school. That's what it was about. It was sponsored by a number of pharmaceutical companies. I did know that. So they had, lots of money to spend on it. And it was down in New Orleans. We were down on Canal Street and whatnot in a big hotel and whatnot. The thing's going to last about a week. So I noticed that a lot of time was spent. People was down there in, the ballroom area, just kind of gliding around all dressed up and walking around with champagne glasses and all the rest of it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking at people and whatnot. I said, now, what are we here for? That's what I'm asking myself. Here to come up with formulas and whatnot, codification, really, for how we're going to get black students in the med school and get them completed, and get them funded, all this stuff. That's what all this is about. This is the purpose for being here. But what I'm looking at is a lot of people having what they call a good time. See what I mean? But that's not what has been announced. Okay? See, I don't have anything against that, but see, do what you say you're there for. Okay? So, some black guy, about three of us standing there talking. We stand there talking in the lobby. See, and I was trying to find the lady who had brought me down there, and so that I could ask her when would I going to get another talk, because I had made about a 30-minute talk, and that had been the day before, and it looked like I was going to be down the rest of the week, and I wasn't going to get another chance to talk, because see, I'm all business when I'm on these, So, and that was years ago. Okay, now. So one guy came up, and we were just standing there looking at the people. I mean, just gliding across, the room and whatnot, chandeliers and all that. And the guy said, it was about three of us standing there talking. So one guy, he might have been a little tipsy. I mean, he said, man, there's some fine bitches around here, man. I'm some fine broads. I said, man, I'm looking at them, man. I'm going to get me one of them and take them up in my room, And, I'm going to fuck one of these worlds, He was just talking, so we were just standing there kind of listening to him. So finally he drifted off. And the guy standing there talking to me because we'd been talking about the racial thing and all like that. And so he kind of hesitated and didn't say nothing. And I didn't say nothing. We kind of stood there for a moment because the guy had drifted off. Now he's gone on and off. Mm-hmm. I guess trying to chase one of them women he was talking about. So the fellow who was standing there said, you know what? He said, that's the only motherfucker that knows what he's here for.
Wow.
All the rest of these people gliding around here, I mean, profiling and whatnot, they ain't got no idea what they're here for. See, now he's half tipsy, but he knows what he's here for. See, he ain't shamming. You know, he's considering all the rest of this profiling as a bunch of nonsense. He's gonna get him one of them women, and he's heading for the hotel room upstairs on the elevator as soon as he possibly can.
Wow.
See, everybody else is walking around here acting like they're doing something. A whole week of acting. Trying to solve black people's problems. Say, no, man, they ain't here to solve nothing. I'm gonna get me a woman to get up here in that bed and lock the door. And that bell rang with me instantly because I knew that he was telling it like it was. That's the only MF here that know what he's here for. Now that's not exactly the truth because that's what I was there for. But I mean, but I got the point.
Right.
Yeah. See, and it's a lot of that has been going on down through the decades. Like I say, now I ain't got nothing against people relaxing and all like that, but I'm saying make it clear what you're doing. Codification is about clarity, man. And I was speaking about it this morning to somebody, and that is one thing I don't never want to hear again, and that is having a 3-day convention or something where hordes of people come in by the plane load and sit down and discuss some agenda that's supposed to be about racial matters, sometime going all the way to South Africa or someplace to do it. And then at the end of every meeting, and everybody giving their opinion, and everybody profiling and whatnot, or whatever you want to call it, what you come up with is one cliche statement. We got to hold our leaders accountable. I never want to hear that again in life. Because I have repeatedly seen that. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and all kinds of work and midnight effort put forth just to come up with that one statement. Well, after we have done all our research and we have had Dr. So-and-so speak and we have had attorney so-and-so and we have had professor so-and-so and we have had this and we have had that and we have had reverend saying this and that, all you can come up with is hold your leaders accountable? Is this what all of this 5-day convention was for? That when you made your summary remarks, went passing the mic down the table, hold the leaders accountable. You could have done that without having no kind of meeting. And I don't ever want to hear that remark ever made again by anybody. Been there, done that a zillion times. And even if you ask a question, hold them accountable by doing what? Nobody has an answer. That's another thing I noticed. Well, hold them accountable. You know what it means. It means get on them. Take our people where we're supposed to be. Cliche after cliche after cliche. No specific codification at all. Hold them accountable. Hold them by the neck? What are you talking about? And then finally somebody might timidly say, well, vote them out of office. Well, that's what you did last convention. So you voted them out of office. They're gone. Now you got another bunch, and you say hold them accountable. Hold them accountable by doing what? Voting them out of office. And most of the time they won't even get that far. They won't say what hold them accountable means. They just say hold them accountable. And everybody just nods in unison. Yeah, we got to hold them accountable. And then they go out and get in the stretch limousines and whatnot. Yeah, we got to hold them accountable. And we're going to come back next year and say the same thing. Hold them accountable. I don't ever want to hear that remark ever again out of anybody's mouth, period. And I'm not going to a meeting where that's the summation is going to be. Hold them accountable. I'm going to say, y'all can say that before you even have the meeting. You don't need to, have no great big buffet dinners and all like that to just say, well, we came to the conclusion that, the solution to black people's problems, we got to hold our leaders accountable. Is that all you got? Is that all that all of this talk was about? Year after year? Hold them accountable. Hold them by the big toe,
When did you start seeing this pattern of, this happening consistently when black people would get together?
Because I would be on the podium many a times myself, and I'm saying, hey, I'm talking about codification for each person in this room and everywhere on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You are the leader. That's the thing that I kept saying. There's no such thing as a black leader in the system of white supremacy. You have black spokesperson. What is a black spokesperson? It's a person that speaks. So every time you speak, you are the spokesperson. If you're black, that's what a black spokesperson is. And there's no such thing as a black leader. All of the leaders of black people on this planet are white. If you're reasonably sober at all, you can recognize that. Hold our black leaders accountable. You don't have any black leaders. There's no such thing as that. These are spokespersons, meaning they give opinions about what they think ought to be done. I'm not knocking it, but that's what you do every day. Give your opinion about what ought to be done. So every black person that speaks is a black spokesperson. And there's no such thing as a black leader. All of the leaders of black people in the system of white supremacy are white. Now, what is a leader? A leader is a person that when they do something or when they say that something's going to be done, it gets done because ain't nobody going to oppose it. That's what a leader is. So all the leaders for black people are white. See, white people make decisions in the system of white supremacy. Black people make suggestions. See, when I speak, I make suggestions. My whole book is a book of suggestions about what black people should do or can do. That's what it is. No such thing as a black leader. A leader has power. I mean, when a leader steps on the scene, like a Roman emperor and whatnot, and say, hey, this is it. This is what's going to be done. Our heads are going to roll. And I don't have to consult nobody. I'm Julius Caesar. End of story. If everybody in the parliament going to have their head chopped off in the Coliseum tomorrow, you could, just be on time because it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Ain't going through no channels. I'm the channel. Right. See, and in the system of white supremacy, black people, go to white people. I don't care how many meetings they have. See, I got to go to Mr. Reed. See, black people got to understand that. Well, I don't like what Mr. Reed said. What do you think about what, hey, if I talk to Mr. Reed this morning, I'm going to him with a list of things I want done. 20 things on the list maybe, and ask him how many of these things can you get done, Mr. Reed, and when. Because, see, they have the capacity for getting things done because they're white. If they can convince other white people, because that's what they need, to go along with what they're doing, then I will get what I'm after. Because can't no black person do it no way. That's what white supremacy means. See, after we raise all this hell with white folks and whatnot, we still got to ask them or force them. And we can't force them by saying we're going to hold them accountable. I mean, that's laughable if it wasn't so pitiful. Now, if you white folks don't do this, you do this or else. Well, where's my army? When you say or else, that means you got muscle.
Right.
Yeah. Now, where's the muscle? No, come on, stop shamming.
That was one thing. Mrs. Elliott, when I spoke with her yesterday, that was at least one thing that she did say truthfully, that white people have the ability to solve this problem today if they want to. Sure.
That's exactly why I say I don't need to talk to no white person about solving a race problem, because white people have the ability to solve the race problem instantly.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think most non-white
See, my
people...
book is addressed to victims of racism.
Right.
Sometimes people forget that. People say, well, Fuller, I mean, when you talk, I say, yeah, it tells me what to say to white people and whatnot, but it's all in a asking capacity. I can't demand nothing unless I got the muscle to back up the demand, and I don't have the muscle. So I'm always in that asking capacity. And all I can do with black people is just make suggestions, because I ain't got no authority over them either. Only people who have authority over black people are white people, the white supremacists. So I can't make black people do nothing. See, we have to understand. If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. And we are confused. Worldwide, Brazil, Morocco, anywhere you find black people, you're going to find some confused people.
What you just said, that no black person has the ability to make another black person do something. White people are the ones who have authority over black people.
And when I'm all up in another black person's face talking about what you better do for black people, I might as well go to the white person and ask, because that's who he's got to ask. You can't make nothing happen. So, when black people jumping on each other about this not being done and that being done, I mean, you're talking to the wrong person. I knew that when I was on, when I first got on jobs. Wouldn't it? I'm sitting up here on the EEO. And the lady who's the so-called head of the EEO, she said, well, Mr. Fuller, now, we have to go through channels. I said, wait a minute. Let's strip this down to plain English. What does that mean? She said, well, this has to be approved. Approved by whom? Well, by, Mr. Daly. Who's Mr. Daly? It's always somebody white. I say, oh, okay. In other words, we're just a committee of beggars sitting here in this room. We can't make no decision about nothing.
did the other non-white people who were on the committee with you, did they understand that they
No.
were,
And to this day, even when black people are doing it, they don't understand that that's what they're doing. They say, well, we made the decisions. I mean, we went around the table and we had a lot of different views and a lot of different arguments, but I can say that we made progress today because we finally made our consensus. And everybody shakes their hands and all like that. Everybody feels great about themselves. So, we finally came to it. But what they really finally came to is that they agreed on a proposal that they were going to take to a white person or a committee of white people who were going to make the final decisions. But they didn't say that. They didn't even say that to themselves. But that was the truth of the matter, over and over again. All they did was, like 10 guys who are, what you call homeless, so-called, houseless people around in the alley, and they all say, well, we going around there and ask the manager of the warehouse, can we sleep in that empty portion tonight? See, now they all agreed on finally doing that, but the decision is going to be made by the manager of the warehouse. They feel good about all of them agreeing on asking the manager for one thing. That's what the agreement was. Not making the decision, well, we all going around there and sleep in that warehouse tonight. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That's two different things altogether. No, we all agree that we all going around there and ask the manager, can we sleep in that empty room in the warehouse tonight? Rather than us go around there one at a time. We all going together. And ask, not demand.
Mm-hmm. And really, if you got to go and ask this white person to get permission, you don't really need to ask them non-white people.
You could have gone around there one at a time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I mean by the United Independent thing. See, I didn't need no committee for this. My feet are cold, my hands are cold. I need to get in from the weather. I'm going around there and knock on the door and say, Mr. Phillips, that portion of the warehouse down there is empty. Ain't nothing down there for nobody to steal or nothing like that, but it is warm down there. Can you let me spend the night down there? Yes or no? Right. In fact, if I go down there with a committee, he definitely might say no. This is all asking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you get more done if Mr. Phillips got 40 warehouses and each person individually goes to each one of the 40. Just one or two at a time. Now, you spread out. But see, black people got an idea of what we call power. We think that a crowd is power. That's why we like to assemble. Man, it was 800 people at that meeting. Now, that's what we call power. That's 800 helpless people. That's what that is. 800 beggars in one place. You do better begging when it's just each individual begging in different places. That way you get more. Because there ain't a whole lot of you in one place. We know that from being ghettoized. Get a whole bunch of black people in one place, that's when everything starts getting cut off. But when you got them scattered all over the place, you get more benefits. See, that's what codification is about. That's the United Independent concept. Not assembling black people all in one place. You definitely don't want to do that. You want to operate so that each black person is a country within himself. One black person, one nation. Another black person 800 miles away doing the same thing. that black person is a nation. So what you have, according to codification, is a United Nations of black people, because each black person is a nation within him or herself. That's a difficult concept for black people to wrap their minds around. I've been trying to do it for 40 years. But it's a very simple formula, but we're just not used to it. See, because we were always chained together. That's why we like to be in prisons and whatnot, because that's where all the rest of the black people are. See, black people would be terrified of going to prison. The prison is just full of nothing but white folks. I mean, you in the cell block, you know the nigga in there. See, we at home when we're in there with homeboy. Hey, man, you promised you going to give me, pay me back the cigarettes now. Don't keep jiving with me. See, we love that. The sound of another black voice, even if he's threatening me. But see, when it's a twang, that's terrifying. We can't handle the twang.
Wow.
Hey, fella, I done told you once. I ain't telling you again. Now, we don't want to be faced with that all the time, and ain't no other black people around to make us feel safe. Yeah. They're all looking at you with steely blue eyes,
Wow.
I don't know what they put you in here for, but you think you're going to get anything from us, you might as well forget it. Are you faced with that for the next 10 years? Yeah, you missed the ghetto.
Wow. I'm just curious, how exactly or when did you come to that conclusion that non-white people, that was something that would really bother us if we ended up being stuck just around white people?
Yeah, see, because we don't have a code to handle it. We got a ghetto code. We got the tattoos and the 9mm. I mean, we know what to do. We know what to do with each other. We don't know what to do when we're isolated with a whole bunch of white folks. And we need a code for handling that. See what I mean? That's one thing I learned being on that mountain in Japan, because there's mostly white guys up there. And you know what? I got along with them because I had a code. See, I learned real quick that that's all I needed. Put me around any bunch of white folks, I don't have no problem. When they use the word nigger, which is what they did, I don't even flinch. I don't bat an eye. Why? Codification. That's the only difference between me and the other black guy. We're both black. But why is it that I acted different from the way he acted? He goes berserk. I was calm all the time. Now, because I'm smarter or stronger or whatever, no. Codification. I'm going according to a code. When white people say nigger around me, I don't flinch. I don't bat an eye. All you got to do is just tell yourself that. You don't have to get permission from nobody or nothing. You just tell yourself that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to even look up. Whatever I'm doing, I'm not going to even look around. Keep doing just what I'm doing. Because they're saying it when I'm not around anyway. See what I mean? I already know that. See? Understanding. I understand racism. I'm not expecting them to act any other way. They can walk around and say nigger all day. It won't bother me out. Not at all. None. Nigger, 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 all day long. Will not bother me. I mean, they can try it, They can come in and announce, Well, Fuller, yesterday I counted the times I said nigger. It came to 312. I'm going to double that today. Help yourself. Triple it, you know. See, it's a mindset. Codification is a mindset. But it's orchestrated. It's precision.
And you said when you got codified in terms of how to deal with white people saying nigger, that stopped them from saying it. That when they saw you weren't
It will. They will come up and apologize without even you asking them for one. You start breaking bad and calling them whitey and all this old kind of stuff and all like that. Hey, it has just the opposite effect. Found that out real early. They're the ones tiptoeing. When they use the word nigger, they start tiptoeing from then on. Start wanting to do you favors. Because you didn't react. Not at all. None. See, and that what that's telling them is that this guy's black. I don't know whether he's a nigger or not. You know? In fact, I don't know what in the hell he is, you know? Other than weird, you know? And that's one thing that the white supremacists don't like. You don't like to be able not to be able to figure you out. See, weird niggas, I mean, no, you don't want them on the plantation or nothing. And see, it ain't nothing more weirder than a black person on his own wavelength. Got his own way of thinking. Doesn't fit in nowhere. What we might call loosely kind of in his own world. Man, the things that you think he'll react to, he don't react at all. And he come up with some strange things when he starts talking. It's out of nowhere. And very seldom talks about anything unless it pertains to something. That's a weird nigga. You know? You can say anything around him. He just listens and looks at you. Sometimes looks like he's looking through you. You know? So back on the plantation days, they got rid of him. They sold him down the river on the next shipment. They put him off on some other plantation owner. Yeah. Say, well, why did you sell him? You know, I don't know. I just got a bad feeling about it. Say, well, what does he do? He does what the other niggas do. He does what he's told. But there's something strange about him, you know. He's not laughing. He ain't playing the tambourine, you know. He didn't get mad and cry, you know, when I talk to him like I did. He just looks at me like he's looking in another world. You know? Last year I had 3 of them like that. I got rid of all of them.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. See? Now, the reason I say that, because when I started acting codified, and it wasn't an act, I was just following the code. You know? What's the best thing to do? What's the best thing not to do? You know? What's the worst thing I can do? You know? But usually I was always looking for the best thing to do and say. And I started doing it. I didn't even have a name for it then. I didn't call it a code. I just called it, you know, this is my way of doing things. You know? Because I knew I had to do something. And then I noticed that white guys started being attracted to me. They wanted to talk to me. But see, I wouldn't talk to nobody about nothing unless it was about something of substance. See what I mean? And then I, you know, little by little, things start coming to me about how everything worked. I started settling down. I wasn't jumpy all the time, you know. I wasn't walking around feeling like somebody's going to say something to hurt my feelings. I mean, you know, I had the position of, man, give it your best shot. You know? I mean, when it comes to trying to hurt my feelings, spend 2 weeks trying to think of everything that you can possibly say to hurt my feelings, and then come and unload at once, you know. And give it all you got and see how I react, because I'm going to react the same way, whether you say one thing or 10,000. See, that's a code.
Wow, which we do not have.
We don't have it, and I've been trying to put it out here as a formula. But I've been to meeting after meeting. I've laid it out just like I'm laying it out now. And the average person says, well, those remarks are very, you know, they're very insightful remarks, Fuller. I mean, you know, and Mr. Fuller here, we're glad to have him here aboard, I mean, on this panel and whatnot, because he always gives us something to think about. Then they go right back to doing what they always do. Immediately. You know, out of habit. See, it's not insolence or disregard, it's just out of habit. We don't have a habit of being codified. I'll tell people, don't ever say anything against America, ever, for a very logical reason. It doesn't exist. So you don't make sense when you do that. That's a concept that is yet to be. It's an excellent concept. Nothing wrong with the term, the concept America. But it simply doesn't exist. What does exist is a system of white supremacy. So you address what exists. But don't mix the two up. They're not the same thing at all. Okay? So I will tell people that. Spend a half hour doing it. And then the very next speaker will come to well, as we all know, we have been dogged around by the American people all of our lives. I said, my goodness, I just got through making a half an hour talk. See? And I said, was he listening? Yeah, he was listening. But the thing is, it's habit. It's nothing but habit. That's all it is. And the words mean something. See, they think that the words don't mean anything. Man, when you know, words mean something. Words are very important. Words make the difference between whether you're going to walk out of that prison, walk out of that courtroom and get in your car and go home, or whether you're going to do life. What was the difference? The words that were said right there in that room. That's what made the difference. Didn't nobody hit nobody, you know. Didn't nobody pull no gun and put it to nobody's head or nothing like that. People pass words around. Words mean something. Words have an effect. Has the jury come in with the verdict? Yes, Your Honor, we're ready. We find the defendant guilty of all charges. Those are words. Anybody who's ever heard them knows how stunning they can be. And a week later, well, as have been prescribed by the jury 1 week ago, Friday the so-and-so, blah, 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 you know, the defendant will now be sentenced. Stand up, please. You know, 88 and a half years without parole. He's 23 years old. Those are words.
Yes, sir.
But if you stand up and says, not guilty of all charges, and the record will be expunged, you're free to go. Those are words. Two different sets of words, meaning different things, too.
Wow, yeah. That was the one thing, even when I spoke with Miss Elliott, even though we did not agree on the use of the term non-white, there was agreement on the use of words, and she was saying, words are
yeah, she knows that. Tim Wise knows it.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
does he ever know it? If you ever hear Tim Wise talk, you would think you're talking, that you're listening to Malcolm X,
Wow. I don't think wow. Wow. You feel like he talks about white supremacy with that much?
Tim Wise is one of the best speakers on the system of white supremacy I've ever heard. And he out-talks a whole bunch of black people with much greater precision. Get his facts straight and all that. All the nuances and everything. But like I said, I've stood right within 2 feet of Tim Wise. I've never said not one word to Tim Wise. Lots of people, black people, crowd around him, get his autograph and whatnot. They want to know, where are you from? You must come from the moon. I mean, right. I don't have anything to say to Tim Wise or Miss Jane Elliott either, Or Miss Farrell, she's another one. Okay, I forgot her first name.
Farrell Winfrey?
Farrell Winfrey, right. And I've been right in the room with her. I mean, listening to her talk. I mean, for an hour and 2 hours and whatnot. And I asked her one question. I said, did you say, Miss Winfrey, did you say that you admitted that you are a racist? She said, sure. She said, yes. I always say that. I said, well, thank you. I didn't have no other question. No further questions. Just like in court. That would be my question. She's an admitted racist. That's what I want from a white person. That's why I asked the question. So you're an admitted racist, so you're on the racist suspect list. End of story. Anything else that you say, I'll listen to it. But it really doesn't mean nothing until the end of racism. Now it means something. See, that's code. That's what I mean by code. We need one, but we don't even know that we need one. We got no idea that that's what we need, and that's the missing link. That will take us right where we need to go faster than anything else. I'm convinced of that, based on logic. I mean, I'm talking about trip hammer running. Oh, I mean, like really moving. Just tap into the code just a little bit. Not Fuller's code. This counter-racist logic, that's the code. A certain way of going about doing everything, and that certain way, out of 10,000 things, really, as a formula, out of 10,000 things to say, what's the best thing to say? In every instance, all day long, when you're talking about anything. Because there's a best way to say anything. And out of 10,000 things to do, what's the best thing to do? Every day, all day. Because out of 10,000 things to do, there is such a thing as the best thing to do. There is, out of 10,000 things, if you list them all in a computer, and just go through each one, somewhere in that 10,000, you might narrow it, what they call narrowing it down, to maybe 12 things. And then there's a best thing in that 12. That's that's the codified procedure. If I'm going to come up with a flag design, out of 10 million flags that I can design, what would be the best one? That's how I came up with the question mark. Because you come into the world asking questions, and you leave here asking questions. Did I make out my will? I mean, whatever. Questions. Who's going to look after such and such? That's what a person in prison on his way to the, to the death sentence. Warden, what time is it? That's a question. That's an old cliche about a guy on his way to be executed. What time is it, Warden? Well, he's interested in time now for sure. running out of time. I mean, they already told him the day is the day. So now he's narrowing it down to hours, now minutes, you know. Has anybody talked to the governor? You know? That's a universal, I call it the universal flag. See, and I designed one. It's, you can see through it. In other words, made out of material, if you got it, that you can see through, and just a question mark on it. Now, why is it a see-through? Because it puts into question everything that's even behind the flag while it's flying. The whole world is in question. See what I mean? You got questions about everything, endless questions. All day long, you're really asking questions. What's on my schedule today? Did I finish that work I was supposed to get done yesterday? Has anybody called so-and-so and asked them what they're going to do about such and such? All day long. The foreman walking down in the warehouse. When are you boys going to start working? You think I'm going to pay you for nothing? Another question. Some black guy mumbles under his breath, when you going to start fucking with me? Another question.
Wow. I didn't want to take up your whole morning, but I guess if I can get one question in, do you think during the so-called civil rights movement, if black people, if they had been a bit more codified and had a slightly better understanding of racism, do you think they would have been more effective in combating racism?
If black people had started off being codified,
yeah.
Man, we wouldn't even, I mean, if they had just been doing a little of it, I mean, just a little while ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
What? You really believe that?
Man, that's all it is. See, when I say that's the only missing thing. See, I've been to enough meetings, and I make a summation of meetings. I started doing that in a codified manner. I say, well, Miss So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so said this, and man, that sounded good and all like that. But what was the bottom line? I went back to that sergeant again. Where's the bottom line here? And what they were coming up with was a committee, really, of suggestions to go and talk to some white people, you know, either individually or as in a group, and the words they would use in the meeting is make a demand. See? Which was false language. Because it really wasn't a demand, it was a request. See, but this is usually all that came out of any of those meetings. And if you study them very carefully, that's what all of it is. Well, we gotta go and and hold these people accountable, and and use that word accountable. Like I said, I'm sick of it. See, I mean, I don't ever want to hear it again. Not ever, in that context. So, but all they're really saying is, well, we're gonna march. Well, what is the march? The march is we're protesting. Well, you're protesting what? Our conditions. Okay. Now, when you protest, what are you actually doing? We're asking them to do right. Oh. But we're demanding. We demand. We will no longer. How many times have I heard that? That day is over. No, it isn't. See, cliche after cliche, I mean tired cliches. Next speaker come to the podium. All right, let's everybody put their hands in there. Black people have had their hands in the air as far back as we can remember. That's the first thing they do when they put a gun on us. Put your hands in there where I can see them. So we don't even know where we picked that up. Okay, let's everybody put their hands in there for Reverend so-and-so. Now put your hands together. That's the next thing they tell you. All right, put your hands together behind your back and move backwards toward me. You know what you're being arrested for? No, sir. Well, I'll tell you when I get you in. Get in the car, watch your head. Certainly wasn't watching it before I caught you. You ain't got nothing in it.
Wow. And you really believe if non-white people, black people have just got a little more codified, this problem could have been solved a long time ago.
Man, if we would just understand that a code is what we need, and each one of us, see, people say, well, Fuller, where's the whole code? And I say there's no such thing as a whole code until all problems are solved. Codification is just a process for solving problems. There's no Neely Fuller code. It's just a process for solving problems through the process of eliminating the things that work and separating them from the things that don't work. And just do the things that work. That's all it is. There's nothing mysterious about it at all. There's nothing creepy about it. Do the things that work. Don't do the things that don't work. That's all. And we haven't tapped into that at all. It calls for planning. And the planning is just a matter of studying what works, studying what doesn't work. And then see to it that you don't do the things that, that you don't do the things that have every indication of not working. Yeah, I gave them a piece of my mind. They fired me this morning, but I gave them a piece of my mind. I told them else, Say, well, so you did that. So that's a doing. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you get the result that you were seeking? Because now that piece of mind that you gave them, you're going to have to go back and get that piece because you're going to need it to beg for that next job. Okay? Of the brother of the person who you just told off. I let people know when I went on the job, I said, I didn't come here to leave. I could have left without coming here in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come here, I came here to stay. They say, yeah, but the kind of stuff that they do here, they do the kind of stuff that they do here everywhere else. And I know that. You will always run into somebody that can run you off the job. The key is let them run. Because you didn't come on the job to run off the job and go looking for another one. You could have taken care of that by not even coming on the job in the first place. So if the job is worth having, you stay there and let the other person leave. Now figure out how you go about doing that. And one thing is you can wear them down by them trying to wear you down. Now I tried that, and it worked. I mean, some black guy came with me. That guy, man, that they hired 2 months ago, man, if he say one more thing to me, man, I'm going. I say no. I said the fact that he's volatile, he's dynamite looking for a fuse. I said, and don't you be it. I say, stay out of his way. Let him run his course and all like that. I say, but that guy, man, I said, hey, Codified, trust me on this. At least a little way where you keep your eyes open and see that what I'm saying is true. See, just don't trust what I'm saying, just because I'm saying it. You watch it and see if it's true. Sure enough, that white guy, because he started off with me, And I said, well, now, I don't want to unduly influence you. He said, wait a minute, let me tell you something. Nobody influences me. You got that? And I said, oh, okay. That's all I said. And I said to myself, this guy's a short timer. I can tell that right now. He's a hot potato, which means he's going to trip all over himself, Going to fall on his face. I ain't going to have to touch him. Nobody is. His people step back and let him fall on his face because his shoelaces are tied together. Every move he makes, he's going to fall on himself. Talking about nobody influences him. Right? Oh, nobody influences you. You never had a teacher that ever influenced you. How did you learn anything? You were influenced by an ad saying, come and get this job. I mean, nobody influences you. Okay, all right, see you. Boom, 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 boom. Mr. Wolf, Wolf, Wolf. Hey, I mean, you're an easy one. See, it's the guy that comes here who's low key, doesn't say much, asks questions, real humble. That's the deadly white guy. He's insidious, and he's going to move too, right to the top. That white guy came in, letting everybody know that he's tough. In particular, he don't put up with no niggers, And he didn't last no time. Man, and who was it that he got in trouble with? The white guys. I knew that was going to happen. See what I mean? He's a hot potato. He's swinging wild. He's swinging on everybody that come close to him. Mostly on black people, see, but he's taking it out on white people too. And they ain't going to stand for it. See what I mean? I knew that, They ain't going to put up with him coming in acting like a nigger. A white guy acting like a nigger. The white folks ain't going to tolerate that.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the last times I saw him, he had a little position when he came in and was ambitioning for more. He wound up, they had some big duck equipment, that was covered with aluminum and whatnot. He was down there scrubbing it, down there on his hands and knees and all like that, because they let him have that job rather than fire him outright, okay? And when I went past him one day, coming through the tunnel, and he was down there, scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, all that grime and whatnot. And he said, Fuller, I'm now among the lowest of the low. And I just said, well, tomorrow's another day. They might get better.
Wow.
I knew that was going to happen. See, and I was telling the black guys, I said, hey, don't you lose your job hitting him in the mouth or none of that, or even cussing him out or none of that stuff. I said, hey, listen to me. I said, don't do it. Don't do it. Resist that temptation. I said, when he's swinging wild like that, just jump back. I said, he's going to fall on his face. And he did. And black guys came to me and say, Fuller, man, how do you know these things? I said, by observation. It ain't me. I said, you just watch, watch things. Watch cause and effect. Keep your mind on cause and effect. And when you see somebody doing stuff like that, just ask yourself, how long can he keep that up without something ugly happening to him? But see, you don't want to be involved in it. See what I mean? Why do you need to bother when he'll do it himself? He'll shoot himself in the foot. Why do you need to lose your job along with him, losing his? Because it's easier for him to get another one. All right?
For sure.
Yeah, keep that in mind. See, white people don't get fired. They get transferred.
Wow.
And that rang a bell with some of the black guys, because immediately they thought about that, because they had experienced seeing that. I see, just that one statement. White people do not get fired, mister. In the system of white supremacy, white people don't get fired, just look like they got fired. And I found that out, see, because I would ask about people. I say, so-and-so that never would come to work and all like that, where does he work now? Say, oh, he's over in such a department. Now, black people who were doing everything right and doing, satisfying everybody, working hard and all like that, and still got fired, they still looking for a job. Here's some white guy that was messing up big time. And then when we hear about him, say, he's over at agriculture now. Man, he just got a promotion. Yeah. And that was years ago, and I said, white people don't get fired, they get transferred. If there's anything available anywhere, they're going to get it, And if it ain't nothing available, so they're going to make something available, because that's the way the system works, With you're going to be around there searching forever. I first became aware of that, really, in Chicago in the 1950s. Me and white guys are all in that unemployment line. And it's one thing I noticed week after week. I was going to pick up my check. And the white guy I was talking to last week, he ain't in that line. There's another white guy there. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
It was always the same black people, me included, week after week, going down there to sign for our unemployment checks. The white guys who would sit there and talk to us in them folding chairs, after a couple of weeks, you didn't see them no more. They wasn't coming to pick up no unemployment checks because they was employed. I figured that out right quick. But all the black guys, same ones, same faces, we got to know each other. See what I mean? Yeah. But all the white guys would just come and stay there, they wasn't there no time. You have a conversation with them about 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks, then that's it. But you'd still be coming. And then new white guys will show up. And they didn't stay there no time. But the same black guys, I got to know them by name, The ones that was close to my name, because they call you in alphabetical order. Guy, I'll be sitting there reading the newspaper. A guy comes sit beside me. How you doing, fella? Found anything yet? I say, oh, Gibson, I know you ain't got nothing yet. No, man, you know how it is, but I'm glad I ain't run out yet, but I ain't got too many more checks to go before I will run out. I say, where's the other Gibson? Because it was 2 Gibsons used to be there, Call him Little Gibson, Big Gibson, because one of the guys is kind of big,
Wow.
There's another black guy we call him Off the Wall. We didn't know what his name was, but he was always real funny. He kept everybody laughing. Say, where's Off the Wall? He got a job yet? Say, no, he's around here somewhere, talking that Off the Wall. But the white guys, hey, we didn't know him. Guy named Payne, he disappeared real quick. He stayed around there longer than any of the white guys. Because I think he was turning jobs down, We wasn't offered none.
Wow. Wow. Man, I always, appreciate just being able to exchange views with you. I didn't mean to take up your whole morning out there. I know you said you had things to do. I will definitely be making an effort to call you back at another time.
Okay, then.
If you have any time
all
to
right.
exchange views.
Yeah, I had a little more time this morning than I thought because I was waiting on somebody and they didn't come through at the moment, but they should be now. So I'll be talking to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much for sharing your time, sir.
Sure thing. All right.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Excuse me. Context of white supremacy. Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Doing that was his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seventh appearance on the Cows radio program, sharing constructive information. As I said, always real privilege to have him on the program. Always feel like I learn things when I speak to him. Same case today. Mr. Fuller saying that Tim Wise sounds like Malcolm X when he talks about racism, white supremacy. Wow. But you heard his views on that. I hope that was constructive. Before we wrap up, I did want to say, share two things. I guess number one, the term non-white. I definitely feel that it's also important to share that for me it is a strategy to use that term. I think victim of white supremacy, I think that is the most accurate term for an individual who is classified as not white in a system of white supremacy. But I do think the term non-white, a lot of constructive value in getting all individuals who are classified as not white, be it black, Asians, Native Americans, Latinos, whoever else, on the same page and understanding we're being mistreated because we're not white, and we should be united in replacing that system of injustice with a system of justice. I think the term non-white can be very effective as a strategy to unify victims of white supremacy, and I have observed that be the case, where I have been able to exchange views and have constructive contact with other individuals who are not white, where we dialogued about racism and ended up, having a constructive relationship because we were able to talk about that and talk about how we were being mistreated and things we could do to work against that. That's something that is very new to me that I just hadn't seen before, and I think the use of the term non-white was a big part of that because I didn't have to change the way I talked about racism. If I was using the term black all the time, I suspect it might be more difficult to communicate dialogue about racism, white supremacy with. When I had Professor Trask on the program, she's a Native Hawaiian, Ian Hane Lopez, who's Latino, Meiju Louis, who is so-called Asian. I can talk to all these different people and dialogue, and it can be constructive, and we can share how white people have beaten us down globally. And I think using the term non-white can make those conversations much easier to have, even though I do make sure to make sure that we're all being aware and acknowledging that so-called black people are treated far worse than anyone else in the system of white supremacy. And I think all those different individuals have acknowledged that when they've been on the program. I know Meiju Louis definitely did, and even Jane Elliott yesterday said the same thing. So I don't think I don't see any problem at all. As I said, I believe it is a strategy, and I have seen evidence that it is a constructive strategy to use the term non-white. I also wanted to point out when I spoke with Jane Elliott the second time she was on the program, and she was saying that white people are also victims of racism, white supremacy. I think other individuals have said that, and I shared my views with Mrs. Elliott about why I don't think that's accurate. I did want to point out also, when you have someone who is accused or charged with rape, you have a victim of rape, and you have the rapist. They don't say, well, this rapist is also a victim of rape because he has been dehumanized, the way he has mistreated this person. It has warped his perception of how he sees people, how he can treat other people. He's damaged his own humanity. The raper is, or the rapist is also a victim of rape. I've never heard anyone say that. I've never heard anyone say that an arsonist is also a victim of arson. I don't hear that. Racism is the only thing I hear where the perpetrator also gets to say, well, I'm also a victim of this crime. I think it is total confusion. I think it is an act of racism, and I believe Molly Secor, when she was on the program over the summer, I believe she said that exactly, and she is an admitted racist. She said, when white people attempt to tell you that they are victims of racism, that is an act of racism. Molly Secor said that. You can check the program she was on in August, but I wanted to point that out and specifically to use that example of rape or any other crime that you can think of. If you can ask people, Madoff, Mr. Madoff, is he also a victim of the theft that he committed and taking all this money? Is he also a victim of that crime? And just ask and see what they say, because I don't hear people reference him as a victim. I hear people reference him as a perpetrator, someone who committed a crime. That's the way I hear criminals, perpetrators, talked about. They don't talk about them as the victim of the crime as well. And I think that's something that needs to be pointed out. I hope that logic was clear in the discussion with Jane Elliott. Last thing I want to say before the program wraps up, the program with Dave Zirin and Jane Elliott, non-white person called the program and was asking questions, sharing their views with Mrs. Elliott, and she immediately, classic racist move, she asked me for my view on what the victim said, the non-white person who called the program. The standard codified response in that situation should be, he said what he said. He said what he said, she said what she said. That should be the standard response in that moment. She did catch me a little off guard with commenting on whether or not the exchange was constructive. I definitely want to say again, anytime a non-white person is questioning a white person with suspicion, I think that's great. I think that's constructive. I think more non-white people should be making an effort to get comfortable questioning white people and doing so in a codified manner. I think that's very important. So I would say that again, I don't have a problem with anybody calling in to ask questions of a white person with suspicion. I think that's correct and logical in a system of racism, white supremacy. But again, I do want to reiterate, I think the correct response is to say, he said what he said, she said what he said, and to not get sucked into commenting or giving your feedback or criticisms on what another non-white person has to say about racism, white supremacy. Could have been a little better codified right there, but yeah, like I said, I do think it's correct to question with suspicion any white person as long as white supremacy exists. But I did want to make sure I shared that, and thank you for the non-white person who called into the program and made the request for the MacBook Pro. I appreciate it, and everybody else who has done that as well. But thank you for tuning into the program. I hope it was constructive. We will be back to continue to share constructive information. Gus T. Renegade, Context of White Supremacy.